Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. For today's video, I wanted to talk to you about the narcissists and how they will court up to you, and while they're courted up to you, they will steal everything. So let's jump in. The narcissist is a thief, a liar, a cheapskate, an abuser, a loser. They're lazy. Anything bad is a narcissist. They love doing nothing but mischievous stuff. And they're very enticed to get you to fall in love with them. Once they get that, they get you hooked. They start courting into you like a dang octopus. All these tentacles come at you, and they destroy your worth overnight. It's because they suck it all from you, and then they throw all their garbage on you, all that negative energy. Then you look like you're worth nothing and you feel like you're worth nothing. But you kind of are temporarily worthless because you took on all this worthless energy, and you give all your good energy, your productive energy, your lovable energy, your joyful energy, your faithful energy, your motivating energy, your peacefulness, your joy. They take that and then they run off because they're so smart. And that in itself is like a form of abuse, for them to cut and run. It's kind of difficult because there's so much energy involved with a narcissist and you. You go into the relationship, well, we know it's transactional, but at the time you thought it was a relationship. And they have this thing where they spend so much time with you in the very beginning, I guess the infatuation stage, but they get you to really pour into them because they're so empty and they have nothing. They have nothing to give and nothing but lies. You don't really know that. But there is some sort of intuitive nudge that you have where this person obviously doesn't have anything, so you start pouring into them. But you just don't know it's going to be leaving you empty. But as you're pouring into them, what's overflowing out of them is the negativity that comes onto you. It's kind of like a cup that's like half full, but it's oil and water. And oil and water don't mix. If you put them together in a cup, it's going to be like separate. It's going to separate itself because they just don't mix. It would look like an egg and a yolk. They just don't mix unless you break it apart. But when it comes to oil and water, they literally don't mix even if you try to stir it because the consistency, the compounds are totally different. That's where you're unequally yoked. So what you're doing is you're pouring all this goodness into a half a cup of oil. You're pouring your water, your goodness into this oil. And then that oil comes out of the cup and it splashes all over you. And then the narcissist leaves because when they look at you, you're acting like they are because now you're wearing their energy. You don't know that this is happening. And in the case of the narcissist, they don't like seeing themselves and they don't like the truth. So when you get that stuff splashed on you, then they start getting all negative because you look like them and they hate seeing themselves in the mirror. But you unfortunately are mirroring back to them everything they are because you're wearing them. You're wearing their essence and they're wearing yours. This is a spiritual situation for entertainment purposes only. So this is what happens, okay, guys? And they start devaluing you and you start believing it. So it's kind of like now the oil that got splashed on you, now it's starting to absorb into you and you're starting to believe it. And you also have no energy left, so you start to tell them really who they are and what they've done in your life recently, right? 2 months ago, I was fine before I met you, but now I've let you in my life and a few months go by and you have degraded me down to nothing, to a morsel of bread. I mean, everything's falling apart in your life. You're not happy and you feel all disheveled. You can't sleep. You're ruminating. You're always trying to fix their problems. Because you're out of energy, you're going to start being smart with them, coming at them with the same things they come at you with. You're going to be going hard on them, going hard in the paint, right? Because you're not having it anymore. You've had enough. When you do that, they have to leave. So they're going to monkey branch or jump to or overlap. They're always overlapping relationships. There's always 3 of you in a narcissistic relationship. That's why a karmic relationship or a narcissistic relationship, they're the same thing. Anything with a third party is karmic, period. And it's going to bring you negativity. Because relationships aren't meant to be 3s. They're meant to be a couple. 2 people who pour into each other and they build one another. But in the narcissistic relationship, they're using you. Whether they know it or not, I don't care. This is the thing, they know what they're doing, but they don't want to address it or admit it or accept it. That's where the delusion comes into play. It becomes a fantasy or whatever they want to call it. It's a delusion and a fantasy and an illusion because they refuse to see what they truly are. Because it's ugly and it's fake and it's phony. Nobody would want to see themselves if they were fake, phony, and ugly, and that's it. And a lie. But the fact of the matter is that's what it is. And if you've ever been narcissistic yourself, you would see yourself as similar. Except a lot of times a narcissistic person, somebody who would have some of these traits that they're walking in, maybe for a time when they're trying to learn themselves or whatever, or coming out of a family of this and they were unaware. You're not unaware of doing evil. You just feel like you can get away with it, or you just don't care. Sometimes people are jaded to where they don't care anymore for a while. And I get that. When you're narcissistic, you'll do things. I guess the same thing would happen though. You kind of still, you're not afraid to look at it for what it is, but you would rather look at it from another light. And that's how the narcissist is. Except they're a little worse. They refuse to. They refuse to accept that they're doing something wrong. To where a narcissistic person, somebody walking in a trait of that for a time, because it doesn't really emulate who they are completely. It's just for a time they had a slump and they got pissed off or something. Use people a little bit, but not at all like a narcissist would. A trait would be to follow one of the little categories, like greed or lust or jealousy for a time. That would be a trait of narcissism. None of them are good, but to live right, you really don't want to live like that. And it's hard out here in the earth we live in because you start to lose the faith sometimes. And the way I've been treated online, for instance, and offline, the spell work is real. And all I can say is it's just good to do the right thing, regardless of what anybody thinks or how God's going to bless you. He kind of just lets universal law run its path. It's best to live by the universal laws, at least, where you don't lie, cheat, and steal, and that shit will come back to you. You're sitting here pounding away, trying to help people, and you got people just destroying you in your pathway, putting stops and blockages, and you're doing everything you can. And I used to think things were a test, but when they've gone on as long as they have for me, you can call it whatever the hell you want, but a motherfucker gets tired of this shit. Then they shadow ban your channel and do all this stupid stuff that you will see. And if you understand a little bit about how spell work is, you will see some of these things, like people hacking your phones and your devices and stuff. And when the hell is God going to step in? I don't know. Probably never. I'm still going to do what I believe is right. I just think I've been treated very unfair. I used to hold the faith, man, but I am really getting kind of hopeless in this situation. I just wanted to live and help people, but that seems to be too much. And I have a lot of great ideas, but I don't really care anymore. But the narcissist hooks into you, they latch up to you, and they siphon from you. And any place that the narcissist is attached to you, you have to detach. That's really how you break these energetic cords, is you got to find every area of your life where the narcissist has hooked in, to where they're siphoning. It's going to be siphoning somewhere generally in your emotional state, because that's what they love. So it's going to be in an emotional state where they can get you to think about them, think about the past, think about how amazing they could be, or the situation could be, or the illusion is basically what it is. Then they just want to hang on. They just want to hang on if they have to. They want to have a thick cord hooked up to you, but if as you pull away, then they will just try to hang on, which you might get a phone call once in a while, or an email, or they might like something on one of your social medias, something like that, or they'll do things to hurt you even, because that keeps you corded up, because then you're pissed off at them. So then they'll do things like mine. Mine is doing something to get my stuff shadow banned. That's my ex. She is in some place of power, or she works with or is married to somebody with some place of power. And in effect, in a way to where she can have my channel specifically shadow banned. All of my medias have problems. And you get kind of sick of it. Shit gets old, y'all. It gets real old. And you get worn out, you get tired of dealing with demons, these people, a lot of times behind the scenes, and they'll shadow ban your shit, and you put a lot of work in. If I was the one that built the universal laws into this universe system and had people cheating it all the time like they do with spell work and witchcraft, I would put a stop to it, or I would never have allowed it. Because you can do all the right things, and then you get these people that just keep hammering and hammering at you, trying to destroy your life from the background. But whatever, man. That's the thing. They'll come back and they'll try then to destroy you. And while they're destroying you, then you can get annoyed. So then you're going to be corded up that way. But that's how it works. They'll either want the nostalgia feeling or they'll want the hate feeling, but either one's a cord.